amazing question, and something we all need to ask. How many genocides have there been in human history? How many continue? Hard to even count them. The Native American population in North America. How about South America? The Incas. I mean, how about African Americans? How many African Americans were exterminated? Most of them never even made it on the slave ships. I think they lost more than half just on the transatlantic voyage. How many others can we name? Armenia. How about the killing fields in Cambodia? What else? How many others? The Kurds under Saddam Hussein, 300,000 men, women, and children slaughtered under Saddam Hussein. Funny how we forget things like that. So, and Syria. Pardon? Darfur. Oh, thank you. It's on the tip of my tongue. Darfur. So, is the Holocaust really different? Is it particularly unique from other genocides perpetrated even by Americans? This is something that we struggle with. I had the privilege of studying at Yad Vashem in Jerusalem, which is the International Holocaust Museum, Jerusalem, Israel. And this was an issue that was taken up, had an entire unit on this by some of the most prominent Holocaust scholars in all the world, Jerusalem, Israel. They made the argument that the Holocaust, the Nazi Holocaust, is unique, utterly unique in all of human history. Never has there been anything like the Holocaust. Not one horror in human history compares, bar none. Of course, you can't just make statements like that without supporting them. How do we argue? How do we support it? And the answer is you can't prove the uniqueness of an event like this by focusing on the victims. Murder is murder, isn't it? And who can say that murder by gas chamber is particularly more horrible than being cut to pieces by machetes? You can't. Even in terms of the numbers murdered. Okay, 6 million Jews, 5 million non-Jews. Do you know how many people Stalin murdered with whom we were allied in World War II? We lose count. Some have estimated as high as 20 million Russians murdered under Joseph Stalin. So how do we make our case that the Holocaust is unique, different? You can't prove it by the victims. You have to look at the perpetrators. You have to look at the Nazis themselves. You have to look at the intent of the perpetrators. Was it the intent of, all right, the American colonists or the American people to kill every last Native American Indian? I mean, Andrew Jackson did some horrible things. Kicked out entire Indian populations from this state as well. Why didn't he just slaughter them all? Was that the intent? Was it the intent of conquistadores in South America to murder every last native population down there? In fact, most of them died from what? Disease, communicable disease. This was not intended. Was it the intent to murder every last African slave? Was it the intent to murder every last Cambodian, every last Armenian? No. In no case in human history has one group ever intended to murder every last individual of another group on earth. But the Nazis did. The only incident in all of human history. And it is absolutely clear from the records, from the archival evidence that we have, from the Nazis talking among themselves, they would murder every last Jew on earth. That's why it's unique. That's why it's different. It doesn't mitigate any of the other horrors that have taken place. And in fact, studying the Holocaust makes us more sensitive to the plight of those who suffer. But we are looking at a truly unique event.